Xi Jinping urges youth to follow the party, sparks disgusting rebellious trend. China's 2022 military spending reaches $710 billion, over triple what Beijing announced. Report. Terrifying. Tesla flipping in air exposed, smashes several cars. Netizens mock Huawei's Vision M7. World Press Freedom Day. China still the largest jailer of journalists. Falun Gong Information Center urges Russia to resist CCP pressure and release detained practitioners. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Xi Jinping urges youth to follow the party, sparks disgusting rebellious trend. On May 3rd, on the eve of the May 4th celebrations, Xi Jinping said in an address that this year marks the 105th anniversary of the May 4th movement. He emphasized that young people should embrace and advance the spirit of May 4th by following the party, listening to it, and striving for professional success. According to Wikipedia, the May 4th movement was a cultural and anti-imperialist political movement sparked by student protests in Beijing on May 4, 1919. Students protested at Tiananmen against the Treaty of Versailles, which allowed Japan to retain German-conquered territories in Shandong. This ignited national protests, boosted Chinese nationalism, shifted focus from cultural activities to political mobilization, and moved away from traditional elites towards a populist base. The movement promoted progressive ideologies and Marxism, significantly influencing the establishment of the Chinese Communist Party in 1921. Despite the Chinese Communist Party's annual fanfare surrounding the May 4th movement and its spirit, historian Feng Shuarong argues that the event offered little benefit beyond injuring one person, burning down a building, ousting 3 officials, and planting the seeds of violence. It neither saved the nation nor established virtue. It was merely a farce. Thus, it's argued that the May 4th movement was the start of a nightmare for China. However, Xi Jinping's appeals have fallen on deaf ears. Chinese youth rebel with disgusting work outfits trend. With the economy in steep decline and industries failing, the disheartened youth of China have largely adopted a passive form of resistance known as lying flat, completely disregarding Xi Jinping's calls for professional success. This trend began spreading rapidly in 2021. According to a report by the South Korean newspaper Chosun Ilbo, young office workers, dissatisfied with low wages and grueling work hours, have started a trend of disgusting office attire. They express their discontent by saying, "Why dress up when we earn so little?" Wu, a young Chinese woman in her 20s, began posting videos on the Chinese social media platform Douyin in early April 2023, showcasing disgusting office attire. This trend involves wearing unkempt and sloppy clothes to work instead of professional attire. Wu shares tips such as washing your face is the only courtesy you need to show when going to work, and don't throw away clothes you don't like, you can wear them to work. She says, tie your greasy hair, which hasn't been washed for 3 days, tightly with a rubber band, wear your mother's cotton jacket over your pajamas, and your office attire, clothing, is complete. This craze began with a Douyin post in February by a young woman dressed in mismatched, frumpy attire, who recounted how her boss criticized her for damaging the company's image. Her post went viral, amassing over 1.4 million shares and numerous comments, mostly criticizing the excessive demands from employers with minimal support. This fashion statement quickly became a hot topic online, with young people competing to post photos of their eccentric office wear. The more unconventional the outfit, like neon down jackets or cartoon pajamas, the more it's celebrated as an ideal work attire, including outfits that mimic beggars or baggy mom jeans. Reports indicate this trend's popularity is linked to economic frustrations, slowing growth, meager wages, and few opportunities. According to consultancy Max Keys, the average starting salary for university graduates in China is just 5,833 yuan, about $825 per month, with dilapidated apartments in the suburbs of Beijing renting for over 6,000 yuan, about $848 a month, higher than their salaries. Only 6.1% of graduates earn a monthly salary of over 10,000 yuan, about $1,414 in their first year of employment. Even graduates from prestigious universities like Peking University and Tsinghua University rarely receive the generous treatment that companies used to offer. As future prospects dim, more young Chinese are turning to gig jobs, with many opting out of pension plans and returning to their hometowns for work opportunities. Amid these tough economic conditions, some see lottery tickets as their only escape. Last year, the youth unemployment rate hit a historic high of 21.3%. For a time, the government paused reporting these figures, later excluding students from the calculations. According to Peking University's Professor Zhang Dandan, the real unemployment rate, including those reliant on parental support, is around 46.5%. China's 2022 military spending reaches $710 billion, over triple what Beijing announced, report. A recent report from the American Enterprise Institute, AEI, in Washington claims that China spent significantly more on its military in 2022 than its declared $229 billion, estimating the true expenditure at $710.6 billion. This estimate takes into account China's lower labor costs and other reasonable but uncounted expenditures. Mackenzie Eaglin, the report's author, suggests that official figures should also include funding for China's paramilitary forces, $45.2 billion for the People's Armed Police Force and $2.1 billion for the China Coast Guard, which are closely integrated with the People's Liberation Army. The report also points out omitted costs in China's reported defense budget, such as its space forces and military satellites, which AEI considers part of military spending, contributing an additional estimated $21 billion. Other overlooked expenses include $46.1 billion for military demobilization, retirement, and pensions, as well as $1.8 billion for military infrastructure in the South China Sea and for arms imports. Military research and development also represented a significant but likely underreported expenditure, calculated at $45.8 billion. Overall, the AEI report underscores that the adjusted figure of $711 billion still likely underestimates the full scale of China's military spending due to its military-civil fusion strategy and investments in dual-use technologies. This strategy not only conceals the true financial extent of its military efforts but also integrates civilian enterprises and innovations into its defense capabilities. Pacing challenge. The report outlines China's use of its military-civil fusion (MCF) strategy to advance militarily by acquiring advanced technologies such as semiconductors and artificial intelligence. The State Department has indicated that China employs both legitimate and illicit methods, including intellectual property theft, to bolster its military capabilities. This strategy often involves exploiting private companies, research institutions, and academia, sometimes without their awareness or consent. Over the last decade, China has rapidly enhanced its military capabilities, developing sophisticated missile systems, surpassing the United States in naval size, and matching or exceeding U.S. capabilities in several key security domains. This has been possible because China's reported military spending understates the true extent of its resources and capabilities. In 2022, while the U.S. military budget was officially $742.2 billion, China's comparable spending, factoring in unreported expenses, likely approached $700 billion. This nearly equal spending level is advantageous for Beijing, as the U.S. must distribute its military resources across various global commitments, thinning its capabilities. In contrast, China's spending is more concentrated, directly enhancing its military strength in Asia. The revelations about China's actual military expenditure, brought to light by U.S. intelligence and emphasized in Senator Dan Sullivan's disclosures, underscore the importance of the U.S. understanding the full scale of China's military spending. According to Ms. Eaglin, getting to the bottom of how much China spends on its military should be paramount for the U.S. government if the Pentagon is serious about China being a pacing challenge. The U.S. military cannot expect to keep up if it does not know how fast China's military is moving. Terrifying, Tesla flipping in air exposed, smashes several cars. Netizens mock Huawei's Vision M7. On May 1st, a Tesla Model Y was involved in a dramatic accident in Dayu County, Ganzhou City, Jiangxi Province. Witness videos show the Tesla tumbling through the air before crashing down heavily, its body badly damaged. However, its structural pillars remained intact, and its airbags deployed immediately to protect the occupants. Additional footage revealed that the conscious female driver and her male passenger managed to use their phones to seek help. According to the Dayu County Public Security Bureau, the accident resulted in one severe and one minor injury among the Tesla occupants, and 2 pedestrians were also slightly injured, with 9 cars being impacted. The reported cause was a mishandled evasive maneuver to avoid pedestrians. This crash stirred significant discussion on Weibo, particularly in light of a fatal accident on April 26 involving a Huawei M7 Plus that caught fire after a collision, killing all 3 occupants instantly. Initial outrage was fueled by allegations of failed airbag deployment and jammed doors, which were later retracted by the victims' families, deepening public unease. Many commented sarcastically that Chinese-made electric vehicles still have a long way to go to match Tesla. Netizens commented, "M7 is no match, safety isn't just about claims, M7 is all talk." World Press Freedom Day, China still the largest jailer of journalists. May 3rd is World Press Freedom Day, and to mark the occasion, Reporters Without Borders, RSF, released the 2024 World Press Freedom Index. The index places China, under the rule of the Chinese Communist Party, at 172nd out of 180 nations. This Paris-based press freedom advocacy group reports that the CCP's rigorous control and censorship policies have established China as the largest jailer of journalists worldwide. The report highlights that the CCP not only detains more journalists than any other nation but also exerts strict control over information channels, enforcing censorship and surveillance to manage online content and limit information deemed sensitive or contrary to the CCP's narrative. While China's ranking has slightly improved from 179th in 2023 to 172nd this year, Alexandra Bielakowska of Reporters Without Borders clarified in an interview with Voice of America that this rise is due to deteriorating conditions in other countries rather than any improvements in China. She emphasized that China continues to hold more journalists in detention than any other country, with 119 currently imprisoned, including 10 from Hong Kong. Bielakowska cited several disturbing incidents, such as the suspected police killing of Nanjing rights activist and independent journalist Sun Lin in November 2023, and the 15-year imprisonment of anti-corruption journalist Shengwan Yunkai in January 2024. She expressed concern over the declining safety for journalists, noting that previously permissible reporting topics are now prohibited, and the environment for foreign journalists in China is increasingly difficult. Hong Kong's press freedom ranking has also seen a slight improvement, moving from 140th in 2023 to 135th this year. However, Bielakowska stated that this change is misleading as press freedom has actually declined due to the national security law imposed by Beijing in 2020, which has intensified the persecution of journalists. Additionally, a report from PEN America, a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting and protecting free expression in the United States and globally, released on May 1st, stated that the CCP imprisoned 107 writers in the last year and detained 44 journalists, confirming China's position as the global leader in detaining writers. The Committee to Protect Journalists added that 19 of the detained journalists are Uyghur, highlighting the ethnic targeting in these detentions. Overall, the CCP's crackdown on free speech has only intensified, showing less tolerance even for moderate critiques. Analysts remark that in China, only the voice of CCP leader Xi Jinping is permitted, and any dissenting views are rigorously suppressed. Falun Gong Information Center urges Russia to resist CCP pressure and release detained practitioners. In the early hours of Friday, May 3, Russian police raided the homes of 5 Falun Gong practitioners, detaining 4. This incident was prominently featured in major Russian news outlets, which parroted the Chinese Communist Party's misleading narratives about Falun Gong. The Falun Dafa Information Center identified one of the detainees as Ms. Natalia Minenkova, who coordinates Falun Gong activities in Moscow. Russian media have labeled her as a leader of these activities and reported her arrest under Article 284.1, a law used to target engaging in the activities of a foreign or international NGO. This law has been previously employed to target Russian journalists and civic groups. Minenkova is set to appear in court on Saturday, May 4th. The other 3 practitioners are reportedly being held as witnesses. On the same day, May 3rd, Mr. Levi Broud, the spokesperson for the Falun Gong Information Center, made an urgent call for attention to the detention of 4 Falun Gong practitioners by Russian authorities. The center expressed concerns that this event underscores the broader anxieties surrounding Russia's 2002 extremism law, criticized for its ambiguous scope and potential misuse to curb freedoms of speech and belief. Mr. Broud stated, "Worldwide, Falun Gong practitioners are recognized and commended for their peaceful meditation and personal spiritual development. Regrettably, Russia is now siding with Beijing through these grossly unfair actions, as Communist China is the sole nation that oppresses Falun Gong. This kind of unprecedented oppression deeply infringes upon fundamental human rights." Mr. Broud added that Falun Gong enjoys freedom of practice and acclaim in over 100 countries globally, and only in Communist China are practitioners vilified and persecuted. He urged, "We call on the Russian authorities to withstand any covert pressures from the Chinese Communist Party and safeguard their citizens' rights and freedoms. We also call on the United States and other democracies to demand the immediate release of these unjustly detained Falun Gong practitioners." The Falun Gong Information Center stated that it continues to keep a close watch on this matter, including Ms. Minenkova's upcoming trial on Saturday. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.